This is the ultimate moment for every designer. And no matter how many designs we create, it's a moment we never forget. This is the moment where the vision has been cast, construction is complete, and what was once an idea is now a stunning reality. We invite you to come along on the journey from concept to keys. This is the reveal. Hi everyone, we're here in the Trio Design Studio and I am so excited to show you Dylan at Rhino. This is one of my very favorite projects of all time, specifically because the developer came to us and said, I want to push the creative boundaries. This allowed us to have so much flexibility and creativity into what we were designing. More importantly, we were going into a neighborhood of Denver that was up and coming. It had artists, it had culture, it had all these amazing elements that gave us such inspiration to pull into the project, so it made our jobs really easy. And so when we started out on the project, we knew that it was important to go into this neighborhood without a mainstream design palette. So we really pushed those creative boundaries. At every angle and every turn of the project, that we sparked a sense of curiosity. We wanted to invoke that emotion, and so we used color, we used custom murals, and we used over-exaggerated furniture pieces. So when we looked at the overall design palette, we set the foundation with a black and white palette, and then we layered that with very bright, vibrant colors. One of the things that was also important to us in this project is that we celebrated the site in which we were building on, and it was the old drivetrain building in Denver. And if you visit the drivetrain building, you would see spectacular barn doors. You would see black and white aspects within the old building, and we carried and pulled that all the way through to the new building. So when we were defining the space, it was really important to us that we set the tone with this large format black and white tile. What that allowed us to do was really celebrate the use of color throughout the space, to pair that with bright blues, bright oranges, and a sense of red. And what that gave the space was personality and breadth and celebration of the neighborhood itself. And so we were really excited of how that got articulated through the space. We also added in elements to ground the space and to make it a bit warmer with some wood tones, some recycled gym floors, as well as some mirrored tile just to give it that extra punch of personality. So one of my most favorite things about Dylan is, much like hospitality, at every angle, every turn, it sparks curiosity. So there's a lot of pieces and parts, a lot of things moving, and a lot of elements to celebrate at Dylan, and I can't wait to show you. Let's go check it out. Hi everyone, we're here today at the Dylan, one of my favorite projects of all time, as I mentioned in the design studio. So you remember all those amazing finishes that we saw in the design studio? We're about to see them live. So come on into the space. Remember we talked about the Dylan coming into a neighborhood that was up and coming, it was full of artists, and we wanted to make sure that we were not going to design a space that was mainstream. So the original idea for this foyer here was actually a commissioned sculpture. It was a huge fishbowl with a goldfish coming out of the bowl, with the idea that it was a fish out of water. We knew we were a fish out of water coming into the neighborhood, and so we wanted to design something that was impactful. We started with the black and white tile because it provided us a foundation to actually use very saturated, vibrant colors to bring this space to life. And at every single corner, we wanted to spark curiosity, and we did just that. So as the design continued to evolve, we had to abandon the goldfish idea, but we didn't want to let go of the concept. So in this office here, you'll see a custom designed mural, which is actually a koi fish. Why a koi fish, you ask? Because in certain cultures, the koi fish is a sign of good luck, and we wanted to make sure that we were coming into a neighborhood with a whole lot of luck. So let's get out of the lobby and let's enter into the club room because it is spectacular. So much of the design inspiration was really taken out of the hospitality world. We toured so many different hotels as we were developing the project because we wanted those elements to be shown within this multifamily project. So first and foremost, we created these arches. You have to remember that this was a core and shell building, and so each one of these walls separating the spaces was designed by our firm in order to create a sense of arrival. And so this is an amazing sense of arrival because you come through the archway and all of a sudden you're welcomed by a concierge desk. Look at this beautiful light installation above. This is anchoring the entire space and providing us an impactful backdrop so that it gives the resident an idea of just what they're about to experience. So come on in. So here we are in our clubhouse. I love this clubhouse for so many different reasons, but first, take note of these chairs. One is it's a conversational area, but for two, we've used these customized over-exaggerated chairs, and it really sets the tone for the rest of the entire design palette for the clubhouse. These chairs were actually inspired by the Sky Hotel in Aspen. If any of you ever went there in the old days, you would have seen pieces that mimic this type of design. So this project specifically, as you can see, was all about having a lot going on. We wanted a lot of layers, a lot of textures, a lot of bright colors because we wanted to spark that curiosity. So as you move into this space, you'll see design elements that are layered on top of one another. A great example is the area rug layered on top of the other area rug, as well as a lot of different textiles. And then this piece specifically is amazing because it was custom designed so that you could see all the way through to the rest of the clubhouse. When we started to design the project, we came up with an entire persona, and her name was Dylan. And this is an extension of Dylan's unit, right? This is the grand great room. So every piece and part of this particular space is a conversation area. We have the over-exaggerated chairs, we have the pass-through chaise lounge, and then we turn our focus here to an extension of her living room into this beautiful, amazing conversation area. 2 sofas, black leather, and highlighted it with, again, those very bright colors to accentuate just how cool Dylan really is. One of the things that we had to do from a design perspective to bring the space to life was use very vibrant, bright colors. This gave it personality. This spoke to who Dylan was as a person, and this spoke to just who was going to live in this grand living room. When we designed the space, we envisioned a great Gatsby party with lots of different interaction and activation, and so it was important to us that we had different sets of seating, different types of seating, and this is a great example. We knew we were going on the old drivetrain site. Remember when we talked in the design studio of how we were going to pull the old in with the new? This is a perfect example. This is an exact replica of the drivetrain doors that we found on the old site and that we had to custom design to replicate those doors. What I love about it, here's the secret spot. You open the door into this amazing speakeasy. Come on in. So this is one of my favorite spaces because as you can see, it still gets a ton of natural light in the daytime, so you can cozy up and work on your laptop. But at night, you close the doors down, it becomes moody, it becomes quiet, it becomes almost a speakeasy type environment, and you can enjoy that cocktail. Two favorite design details in here is this amazing black leather that's setting the tone. Again, it's over-exaggerated in its approach. And then of course, our custom mural, because who doesn't want to know Dylan? So the idea behind Dylan and the design approach was all about mystery, curiosity, and celebrating that unexpected. And this custom mural gives us just that. So Dylan's party doesn't stop here. Come on into the culinary kitchen. So here we are in the culinary kitchen, and I love this space for all of the design details that it offers. Again, remember, this project is all about layering and lots of things going on. So we have this beautiful custom designed island here. We didn't stop there. Some of the things that we wanted to celebrate was all of the design details. So to give you an example, we were adamant about having a copper faucet. This faucet did not come in copper, so we had to specify a black faucet and powder coat it to be just that perfect element of copper. As you can tell, copper played a big role in this project. It gave us that accentuated accent that was just a perfect pairing with that black and white design palette. So when we were designing the culinary kitchen, we wanted to set a backdrop to draw your eye into the space. So we custom designed this back kitchen wall with black cabinetry, black hardware, and a black quartz countertop because the idea is that we wanted it to be monochromatic. We then put it together with a mirrored tile backsplash, white floating shelves, and gave it just a little bit of personality in the accessories. Remember what I talked about celebrating the unexpected? Let's celebrate the unexpected. This is one of my very favorite pieces in this entire project. And the reason being is, look at what a piece of art this is and how much conversation this actually will spark. I love this egg with legs. I really love this egg. As we move out of the culinary kitchen, I have to tell you a story. So this is a custom vintage candy machine. It was important that we integrated into the project, and look, it's the perfect color, right? That vibrant color that sparks emotion and it tells a story. Naturally, it's way out of scale for this wall. So what did we do? On a site walk, on a construction walk, we made the decision that we were going to accentuate it with a paint detail, and that's just what we did. So we designed this on the fly during a construction walk, and I think it turned out great. One of the other things that was really important to us in this project was naturally to bring the community into the built environment. One of the ways that we could do that is through an art gallery wall. So this wall was intended to highlight local artists and to be switched out on occasion so that we could highlight all of the different artists and amazing talent that is encased within the community. One of the things also that was important to us is that with all of the black and white foundation in the design, we wanted to make sure that the space was warm. And so some of the elements that we added was the copper, was the wood tones, and you'll see this repeated again in the fitness area where we have used a recycled gym floor. As we move through the space, you'll continue to see those unexpected sparks of design. This is one of them. So when we went to curate the art, it was important to us that we would spark conversation and curiosity, and this artwork does just that. So we specifically designed this to be large scale, black and white, and simplistic, so it tells its own story. Okay, so you'll notice that lighting is a very important component to all of our projects. One of the reasons why we chose this light fixture for Dylan is because it reminded us of a garment, and that was a really important part of telling the story. We wanted to play off a lot of the architectural detailing that was originally planned for the building. So this stone wall is a great example of how we pulled this into the accessories, into the art pieces, and so that we had a consistent story throughout. I love adding in these console pieces specifically because it gets back to the balance that we had talked about. Creating a very impactful, dramatic space, but making sure that it's warm and comfortable as well. So the mix of materials between the raw wood and the acrylic base does just that. So we wanted to pull that warm wood back over into the island, and so we custom designed this dining room gathering table, again with the idea of entertainment and socialization, and we custom designed it to niche around the island. Then we paired the warm wood with an acrylic chair. Why? Once again, that juxtaposition of materials is telling a story. So let's talk about these window treatments. We wanted to continue that idea of pattern on pattern. Again, the high contrast between the black and white. But what is it doing? It's drawing our eye up the space to showcase the volume of the ceiling and these amazing garage doors that give us indoor and outdoor connection to promote that pedestrian lifestyle. With this particular chair, we custom designed this gold nail head trim detail, and we also added on the back jewelry. I love the grand room at Dylan for so many different reasons. One, because all of the different conversational areas. Two, the over-exaggerated furniture pieces. And three, of course, all the personality that we were able to integrate through the design process. Now let's go check out the fitness facility. So we first started with the transition of a black floor to lead you into the space. And of course, this customized paint detail because it brings you all the way through into what we call the fitness. Some of the things that were important to us in this space is that we kept that raw design element. So you'll see the concrete floors. We've custom designed 3 large mirrors to anchor the space, and then we paired it again with a custom mural. So as we come into the yoga studio, one of the things that we want to highlight is this recycled gym floor. It sets the tone for the entire space, and it pairs beautifully with the architectural brick that we carried throughout the club. So continuing with that idea of the unexpected, we again created an art gallery wall here that's leading us into our hospitality bathroom space. So no good design would be complete without an amazing public restroom in a multifamily project. So we took this one to a whole nother level. We custom designed the door detail in the actual stalls. We paired it with this beautiful leather wallpaper. And then of course, if you look across the wet area, we once again integrated in that copper, custom powder coated with the bright green tile, and paired that all with a beautiful black frame mirror. So right in the heart of the Dillon is this outdoor living area. One of the things that we loved and thought was so important from the success of the design was to pull that black and white out and to celebrate the location in which the property was designed. Okay, and here we are at the model unit at the Dillon. Come on in. So one of the things that was so important to us in the units was to carry that vibe of Dillon throughout. So we have this beautiful contemporary slab cabinet door. We've paired it with a simple chrome hardware, and we really wanted to highlight how much seating could happen at this space for entertaining. So the island, we put a beautiful concrete gray quartz countertop on, and we had plenty of space for entertaining. We also carried that black and white theme into the units with the white subway tile paired with the concrete countertops and the darker slab cabinetry. So that's the kitchen. Let's go check out the living space. So I love this gray velvet paired with the bright white leather because it gives us a high contrast palette that really makes a statement. One of my favorite ways to anchor a corner is to use an architecturally interesting or artful chair or piece that will make a statement. And so that's what we've done here. So one of my most favorite things to do in design are upholstered headboards. I love this one for that very reason. It gives us a foundation to build on a whole bunch of layers with additional textures. So this black and white headboard really set the tone for the rest of the bedroom, and we couldn't be more excited about how it turned out. Continuing the theme of those textured, we added in some architectural elements, these art pieces projecting from the wall to give us a little bit of dimension. Now that you've seen this space, let's head over to the other bedroom. So we wanted to continue the sense of personality in this space as well. So we've used some really fun, creative, playful art. And then we used pattern on pattern. I think a lot of the success when you work with textiles is to find balance. I also feel the simpler, the better. One of the things that I like to do is to create different layers with using different patterns, different scale patterns, and then pairing them together. Thanks everyone, that was the Dylan, located right in the heart of downtown Denver, full of artistry, curiosity, and design inspiration. See you next time on The Reveal.